Barefoot and hopeful. Discover how one billionaire's life-changing act transformed a girl's future. Mia stood barefoot on the cracked pavement, staring upward at the weathered building from which she drew each breath. Today was supposed to be different. Today, she would find a way to rise above the judgments that echoed like a relentless drumbeat in her mind. As she ascended the stairs of the rundown clinic, her heart raced not from fear but from the weight of expectation. Every hour spent volunteering was a brick added to the sturdy wall of her dreams, but everything felt precarious. Would a girl from her background from this town ever be taken seriously? Could she really become a doctor like her grandmother before her? Tired voices buzzed around her, yet the cacophony only intensified the inner turmoil simmering just beneath the surface. She could already hear the whispers of her classmates, branding her just another impoverished girl destined to fail. Each sneer and snicker felt like a shadow leaping out to drag her back into despair. But Mia wasn't here to drown in doubt. She wanted to shine, to show that determination could break through socioeconomic chains. As she worked to organize medical supplies, a shadow fell across her. Turning, she felt her breath hitch. The billionaire Jack Hargrove stood before her, a man whose very name sent ripples through their small town, a man who carried success like a burden even from the earliest days of his life. He was a child of this very place and now, a figure of controversy with a fortune in his pocket. The moment their eyes connected, Mia felt something shift. It was the spark of recognition, two souls standing at opposite ends of the spectrum. "Are you always this industrious?" Jack asked lightly, but there was sincerity behind his words. Their conversation flowed effortlessly, and for a few minutes, the immense weight of her ambition lifted. Yet, as they parted, Mia's heart sank. What would others say? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Weeks passed, filled with tutoring sessions that ignited a fire inside Mia she hadn't felt in ages. Jack believed in her, but with his every word of encouragement came a creeping insidiousness. Rumors. They whispered malignancies about his past, questioning the purity of his wealth. The tight-knit community she loved had turned cold, looking at him with suspicion and at her with disdain. Who did she think she was? They didn't see the determination in her heart, only the associations they manufactured in their imaginations. As grades soared, Mia found herself grappling with feelings of inadequacy that darkened her newfound confidence. The memories of her mother's worn face loomed large, reminding her of the fragile balance between ambition and betrayal. Mia could almost hear her mother's warnings. Loyalty could cripple dreams. Should she cut ties with Jack for the sake of her future? Or could she hold on to the faith he instilled in her, even as the tempest of scandal raged? In that moment of anguish, she stood at the crossroads, her pulse racing with uncertainty. The girl who dreamed of scrubs and stethoscopes was caught in a thicket of fear, her values tested to their limits. She recalled her grandmother's steadfast integrity. Could she align herself with the rising tide of judgment, or stand firm against the storm? Each heartbeat echoed her dilemma, the flutter of possibility clashing with paralyzing doubt, leaving her suspended between hope and despair. What would she choose? Mia stood at the threshold of her decisions, unaware that what awaited her on the other side could redefine her not just as a student, but as a leader. Each whisper, each doubtful glance, felt like a push toward the edge of an abyss. Yet the fire that had ignited within her from her tutoring sessions with Jack now crackled with intensity, a determination to craft her own narrative, regardless of the noise around her. In the days following her internal struggle, Mia began to conduct small workshops at the clinic for local children. She taught them basic health knowledge like the importance of hygiene and nutrition, infusing her lessons with the hope that had been so generously given to her. She found her voice, and with every question they posed, she defended her dream of being a doctor with renewed conviction. Suddenly, the whispers of her classmates, the judgments of the townsfolk, were mere background noise to the clarity of purpose she cultivated in front of her young audience. Jack visited one afternoon, excited by the potential he saw in her efforts. The spark in his eyes ignited her own, confirming that she was on a path worth pursuing. Yet, the shadows of her community loomed large still. "Are you sure this is what you want?" Jack asked, concern lacing his voice. "I've seen how unforgiving this town can be." His words struck her deeply, reverberating with all the insecurities she tried to suppress. "I don't want to be ashamed of my ambition. I can't let their opinions dictate my future," she replied, her voice steady but with an edge of vulnerability. The weight of her response echoed against the walls of the clinic, immersing them both in the truth of her predicament. The following week, she decided to face her fears head-on. She organized a community health day, inviting everyone in town to participate. She prepared diligently, pulling together resources and information, the thrill of initiative spurring her creative thought. In her mind, this wasn't just an event. It was a statement of defiance against the doubts permeating her world. The idea of standing tall, leading a community effort, felt exhilarating yet terrifying, striking a balance she had yet to grapple with. The day arrived. Mia set up booths with pamphlets and activities, each detail reflecting her dedication. However, as faces began to emerge from the shadows, she felt her heartbeat race again, scarred by the familiar fear of judgment. The laughter of children competing with the skeptical murmurs of their parents engulfed her. But she pressed on. As she explained the importance of healthier habits, she met the gaze of those who questioned if a girl from her background could ever succeed. The rising tension stoked her determination. She recalled her grandmother's legacy, her strength reflecting through Mia's own growing resolve. "I may not have money," she said, her voice reverberating over the gathered crowd, "but I have knowledge, and the ability to change our futures starts with each of us." At that moment, she felt the weight lift just slightly from her shoulders, replaced by a budding optimism. Small conversations sparked. Individuals began to discuss their own health challenges, opening a dialogue Mia never expected. She realized her message mattered more than the whispers hounding her spirit. Yet, as the event waned and attendees began to filter out, Mia lingered on the edge of doubt. What would the aftermath be? Would this showcase of ambition be met with gratitude or contempt? She turned to find Jack standing nearby, his expression unreadable, complicating the rush of triumph she felt. Suddenly the air shifted. She sensed that the battle she had only begun to fight was far from over, a storm brewing on the horizon. The echoes of possibility pressed against the reality of her choices. She had strengthened some ties while perhaps fracturing others. The weight of that realization wrapped around her heart, tightening with uncertainty. What would she sacrifice to stand her ground? The moment of reflection crystallized in her mind, a decision not merely resting on ambition but framed by loyalty and emerging strength. There, once again, Mia faced the precipice before her. How far would she go to prove herself worthy in both her eyes and those of the world around her? Would she plunge into the fray to confront her detractors, or step back and fortify her position, holding on to both Jack and her ambition? The choices stretched before her like a labyrinth, each path obscured, the ending uncertain, calling to her deeper instincts and values as the next chapter of her journey beckoned. Mia awoke the day after the health day with a sense of urgency coursing through her veins. The fragile yet unmistakable hope from the previous day flickered beneath her skin. Despite the success of her event, the echoes of judgment still hovered in her mind like a persistent storm cloud. The whispers of doubt crept into her thoughts, taunting her with memories of scornful laughter and dismissive glances. She understood that her journey was far from over. If anything, it had just begun. Determined not to succumb to fear, Mia resolved to strategize. She began by journaling her thoughts, laying bare her aspirations, fears, and the paradox of wanting validation from others while yearning for authenticity. Each word poured from her soul, unveiling layers of both insecurity and conviction. She recognized the paradox within herself. The desire for acceptance battled against her need for independence. In the quiet hours of the morning, Mia reached out to Jack once again. She could sense his concern, but she needed his guidance. "Jack, I want to build a program that emphasizes education about health in our community," she declared, conviction surging through her words. "You mean like last time?" Jack questioned, his brow furrowed in curiosity. "That took a lot of work, Mia. What's different now?" The question stung, but it also fueled her fire. "I need to take things to a new level. More than just workshops, advocacy, partnerships with local businesses, maybe even scholarships for kids interested in health careers. Every idea she spoke lit a flame of possibility within her. Jack's eyes widened. That's ambitious. But ambitious can also create enemies, he warned, tone shifting from supportive to cautious. There might be pushback, especially from the parents who were skeptical of your last effort. This was the crossroad she anticipated, the test of her determination. I can't back down now. I can't let fear dictate my choices, Mia retaliated, a fierce light igniting in her chest. Jack nodded slowly, his expression softening. Okay, I'll help. But we need to think strategically. Let us draft a proposal and approach the local businesses together. They're less likely to brush us off when they see a concrete plan. The flicker of excitement in her chest grew into a flame as they outlined their vision on a whiteboard. They sketched out future workshops, potential partnerships, and innovative programs for young learners, each idea breathing life into her ambition. What once felt insurmountable began to crystallize into actionable plans. Months passed, and small iterative wins solidified her resolve. Presentations to local businesses yielded support, and she gained traction by organizing informational sessions. Each positive response bolstered her confidence, but whispers of dissent remained. On a rainy afternoon, Mia found herself at a diner, her victory over the fear of eating alone overshadowed by lurking doubts. As she sipped her coffee, the corner table filled with familiar faces, the very people who had doubted her from the beginning, sat sharing their own conversations, eyes occasionally flickering her way with subtle scorn. Confronted by anxiety, a voice inside her whispered to retreat, but she knew retreat would only tighten the hold of her fears. Instead, she focused on her intentions. What did she really want? More than validation, she wanted change, real change that would sow seeds of hope in her community. Determined, she invited herself into the unfolding narrative of her life, beckoning not just acceptance, but transformation. Little did she know, the seeds of confrontation would soon sprout into a clash she could have never anticipated. The question loomed as she caught their eyes: would standing her ground push her closer to her goals, or put everything at risk? The time had come to face the skeptics head-on. The very foundation of her ambition and her resolve would be put to the ultimate test. Would she rise to the occasion, or would the echoes of doubt drown out her progress and ambitions? Mia stepped away from her thoughts as she caught herself staring at the group in the diner, laughter spilling from them like a treacherous wave. The weight of judgment seeped into her bones, colder than the rain that dripped outside. But as the familiar pang of inadequacy clawed at her heart, she pushed it down, inhaling deeply. She wasn't the young girl who had once hidden in shadows. She had work to do. The remnants of her ambition pulsed with an urgency that pulled her from the confines of her seat. Making her way to the noisy group, she felt her pulse quicken, but she steadied herself. They were her past bellwethers of doubt, but they could also be an audience to her future. "Hey guys," she said, her voice steady despite the rising tide of adrenaline. "Mind if I join you for a minute?" The laughter hushed, eyes darting toward her with a mix of surprise and skepticism. With a slight nod, she claimed an empty chair despite the unease that bubbled inside her. "Thought you'd be too busy with your health initiative to socialize," one voice shot back, tinged with derision. "Funny you should say that," Mia replied, internalizing the urge to crumple. "Actually, I just made progress with local businesses for partnerships expanding health education in schools." The corner of their mouths quirked up mockingly, and Mia felt the sting. This was at the moment she faced the ridicule that had haunted her for so long. "You might be interested in what we're doing," she pressed on, maintaining eye contact. "We're looking for community support to offer scholarships for students pursuing health careers. Maybe your kids could benefit." The air thickened and grew heavy as silence stretched between them. Had Mia just laid out her vision too boldly? Doubt once again clawed at her resolve. Or maybe they just need more health classes to teach them how to eat right, one woman replied, sarcasm evident. "What if it's more than just classes? What if we're focusing on empowering them to think about their futures?" Mia asserted, the urgency of her mission stirring something fierce within her. Challenge them, she thought. It was time to rewrite her narrative. Several heads turned, surprise mingled with scrutiny. "You really think they care?" A man leaned in, rolling his eyes. "You know what kids want? Games, parties." "The truth is," Mia countered, adrenaline surging, If we don't plant these seeds now, we're letting them fall into the same traps we once did. She could feel her heart accelerating. She wasn't just defending an idea anymore, she was advocating for something greater, something that mattered. Others began to murmur, thoughts clearly swirling. Mia seized the moment, her voice firm. What if we open them up to possibilities beyond their current circumstances? You'd be surprised by how much kids dream if given the chance. For a brief moment, she glimpsed a flicker of understanding in their eyes, perhaps something more. Was she finally breaking through? Okay, Mia, one of them finally replied, the tone shifting slightly. Show us this grand plan of yours. If it's legit, we might want in. Surprised by the level of engagement, Mia felt a wave of relief wash over her. Maybe this confrontation hadn't been as detrimental as she anticipated. Perhaps, she considered, she had the potential to transform leading opinions after all. As she walked away from the table, Mia knew she had crossed a threshold. The echoes of doubt still lingered, but now they felt distant, muffled under the excitement of having taken a stand. It was no longer just about proving herself. It was about making real change. But as she reached for the door, a familiar voice called out, dripping with condescension. Another voice pulling her back into the fray. You better know what you're doing, Mia. You don't want to embarrass yourself again. That quelling sense of validation she had gathered moments before threatened to shatter. The question of her next move loomed, a defining moment awaited. Would she let those words deter her? Or would she charge forward, fueled even more by their doubt? Determination surged within her. It was clear. Much like her ambitions, this confrontation had only just begun. The stakes had escalated. Mia was ready to carve her path, but could she hold firm against the inevitable pushback? Mia paused at the door, feeling the weight of the words that hung in the air like a storm cloud. Determined to hold on to the flicker of courage she'd ignited in that diner, she forged ahead, her steps steady. She knew confronting those old demons wouldn't just require will. It demanded strategy and clarity. As she stepped into the cool air, a mix of excitement and fear swirled within her. All at once, she was confronted by the daunting reality of following through. She had felt the alchemy of shifting attitudes, but turning that spark into a roaring fire required a plan. Inspiration, she reminded herself, needed to be actionable. Mia pulled out her phone as she walked, jotting down notes in the margins of her mind. Outline a detailed proposal. Include statistics on youth health trends. Cite successful models from other towns. Ideas bounced around like pinballs, her focus sharpening. Each point she generated became a building block. Each thought a reminder of her purpose. Her mind drifted back to a conversation she'd had with her mentor, a local businesswoman named Grace. You need to present not just a vision but a roadmap, Grace had said. People respond to clarity. If you want them to believe, you have to show them. With renewed determination, Mia called Grace. The line clicked, and then she was met with an encouraging voice on the other end. Hey Mia, what's up? I need your help, Mia said, her mind racing. I just had a conversation at the diner about my health initiative, and it went better than expected. They're willing to listen, but I need a solid proposal to present. Mia, that's fantastic. Let us set up a meeting and hash it out, Grace replied, enthusiasm lacing her words. We'll make this compelling and we'll focus on how to bring them in. As they coordinated their schedules, Mia couldn't help but feel a shift within herself. A transformation had started. Where she had once seen herself as the girl who doesn't belong, she was now stepping into the shoes of a leader, with a message that demanded to be heard. This was no longer about winning over her past. It was about changing lives, the very lives that shared her history. After their call, Mia devoted herself to her task. She delved into research, uncovering the local statistics, success stories from other initiatives, and potential partners who might invest in her vision. The hours dripped away, absorbed by her quest for clarity. Every discovery fortified her resolve, knitting together the fabric of her newfound confidence. But doubt lingered just beyond the veil of her excitement, whispering that some would undoubtedly push back. As she prepared to meet with Grace, the echoes of past ridicule clashed with her present achievements. A specific voice resonated in her mind. You don't want to embarrass yourself again. Not this time, she murmured to herself, pushing the self-doubt aside. Knowledge thrummed through her. Self-discovery and hidden resilience were the keystones of her growth. In that moment, She understood that her journey wouldn't be a straight path. It would meander between triumphs and setbacks. As she gathered her notes and organized her thoughts for the meeting, she realized there was still a gap. She needed direct input from community members, stakeholders who could influence decision-making. Would they truly support her vision? What if they didn't? The uncertainty gnawed at her. Mia's phone buzzed again this time. It was a message from one of her old classmates, inviting her to their next reunion. A reunion where she would face, yet again, those haunting memories. As a knot tightened in her stomach, a realization dawned on her. The invitation was another opportunity to confront her past, but it was also a chance to showcase her growth. Her narrative wasn't ending. It was just beginning. She took a deep breath, her heart racing with both anxiety and excitement. It was time to face them on her terms. Would she reclaim her story, or fall beneath the scrutiny of the past? Mia picked up her pen and wrote, "Reverse the narrative." That was her next mission. Both at the upcoming meeting and the reunion, they would see a Mia who was armed with knowledge, purpose, and resolve. With her heart pounding with anticipation, she stepped away from her desk and glanced at her reflection in the window. A whisper of doubt still coiled around her, but determination burned brighter. The moment approached where she would rewrite her narrative and the threads that bound her future. The challenge loomed. Would she find the strength to initiate the confrontation? And would it lead to the acknowledgement she sought or expose cracks in her newfound armor? Mia arrived at the small cafe where she had agreed to meet Grace. The scent of freshly brewed coffee enveloped her as she stepped inside, providing a fleeting sense of comfort amidst her simmering anxiety. Grace was already seated at a corner table, her laptop open and notes sprawled across the surface, a beacon of organized structure. "Hey, you made it," Grace greeted, her smile radiating encouragement. "How are you feeling?" Mia shrugged half-heartedly, a bit nervous. "I know what I want to say," but her voice trailed off, uncertainty creeping back into her mind. "Don't think too far ahead," Grace advised, motioning for Mia to sit. "Focus on what you have now, on the work you've done. Let us build on that." The sound of typing mixed with the bustle of the cafe, and as Mia watched Grace formulate her thoughts, she encountered her own reflection in the glass exterior. The self-conscious girl of the past was dissolving. She exhaled deeply, feeling grounded amidst the chaos of her emotions. They started to brainstorm the proposal, breaking it into clear, digestible components. Mia's initial ideas began to evolve under Grace's guidance. As statistics and success stories flowed, Mia felt her passion ignite. There was something exhilarating about seeing her vision transform into a comprehensive plan. It was not just words on paper. It was the manifestation of her resolve. However, the nagging thought of potential backlash loomed over her like an uninvited guest. Despite the progress, doubt's whispers persisted. What if they laughed at her? What if they dismissed her dreams like a child's? Sharing her concerns, she observed Grace's decisive reaction. "This is exactly why you need to include community members in your proposal," Grace said. "They might surprise you. Seek their feedback. The clearer your vision, the harder it will be for them to ignore you." The essence of collaboration resonated with Mia. If she wanted to secure support, she'd need to pave the road with input, to stake her claim in the landscape of shared fears and aspirations. This was not solely her project, it was a collective journey, even if she felt the weight of the responsibility alone. During the meeting, Mia's articulation grew fluid, her confidence visible in every gesture as she practiced her pitch. By the end, Grace leaned back satisfied. "Mia, you're ready to present this. But more importantly, you need to engage yourself with your fears, to confront them. The reunion is just as critical as this proposal." Night enveloped the city as Mia returned home, the glow of streetlights pulsing softly outside her window. The reunion loomed closer, a double-edged sword that could cleave her past shadows or illuminate a path forward. With determination strapped to her heart, she recycled the doubt into anticipation. Mia chose to shift focus. She would use this gathering to her advantage. Sitting at her desk, she began drafting a strategy for the reunion only to stop abruptly, a new thought coiling around her like electricity. What if she not only faced her peers but also initiated a conversation about the very topics she was advocating? Could she turn that space of vulnerability into a platform for insight and growth? Mia paused, the ideas crystallizing with a newfound hope. Her heart raced as she recognized another pivotal moment, a chance to reclaim her narrative, to draw the past and present into alignment. With a mental diagram forming in her mind, she jotted down bullet points: personal health journeys, confronting stigma, sharing her proposal in an informal dialogue. The thought of being vulnerable elevated the stakes, but her resolve solidified. As she finished her list, Mia glanced in the mirror, bracing for the glimpse of the girl who had once been silenced. Who was looking back at her now? A woman standing on the cusp of change. With eager anticipation, she whispered into the quiet of the night, "Thayla, listen." And in that strength, she felt the stirrings of what lay ahead. The next few days would reveal not just who she was but what she could inspire others to become. Tomorrow she would take the first step, not just in her initiative but in the reclamation of her story. Would her old classmates embrace the transformation? Or would they reflect back the insecurities she fought so hard to banish? Mia's upcoming encounter was set to be a test like no other. Mia awoke early, anticipation coursing through her veins. This reunion was not just a gathering. It was her stage, a venue for her emerging voice. As she readied herself, she felt the weight of the past brushing against her, a reminder of every time she'd hidden in the shadows, too afraid to step into the light. She chose a simple yet fierce outfit, a balance of comfort and confidence. As she looked in the mirror, a stranger reflected back, one whose resolve felt freshly minted. Arriving at the venue, the hum of conversation enveloped her. Laughter floated across the air, mingling with familiar voices. Moments from her high school life flickered in her mind: insecurities, longing for acceptance, the potent fear of judgment. However, as she walked inside, she chose to claim her space amongst the sea of familiar faces. She could hear them buzzing with excitement, oblivious, perhaps, to the internal battle raging within her. The thought devastated and emboldened Mia simultaneously. Sifting through her notes, Mia found a quiet corner. She practiced her introduction softly. "I've been on a journey, one marked by resilience and self-discovery." Each word solidified her intention, transforming her trepidation into purpose. Just then Grace breezed in, her energy a burst of positivity. "You're going to be amazing," she reassured, nudging Mia gently, grounding her once more. Mia nodded, appreciating the support, but the flicker of doubt remained. Would her classmates even care? A familiar voice cut through the air, and she turned to see three of her old friends. Then suddenly the fear surged. They were laughing at an inside joke, their faces lined with nostalgia. For an instant Mia felt invisible, the girl she once was, forgotten. But then she took a breath, recalling their earlier conversations about real change. Change required visibility. She needed to embrace her truth. As she joined the group, her heart raced, not solely from fear but from the thrill of possibility. "Hey Mia!" one of them exclaimed, hugging her briefly, then turning back to the laughter. Her heart sank for a moment, but something clicked within her. She had stories to tell, insights to share, and she wouldn't let herself fade into the background any longer. "Actually," she interrupted gently, a tentative start but a determined one nonetheless, "I've been working on a proposal related to health and wellness. It's about the importance of community in holistic development." The laughter faded, replaced by curious faces. They turned to her, intrigued. "Really? What exactly?" a girl named Jenna asked, tilting her head slightly. Mia felt her pulse quicken, each second stretching as she stepped towards her agenda. It was time to bridge the gap between their past and her present vision. As she spoke, her nerves began to fade, replaced by a growing excitement. The more she articulated her ideas, the more familiar the group became. They engaged with her, asking questions, and soon the interactive discussion unfolded, each response fueling her confidence. Once the floor settled, Mia felt empowered, standing at the epicenter of her narrative. It was no longer just about her proposal. It was about a collective dialogue she was building. Yet, amidst this newfound exhilaration, there remained a whisper of doubt. Could she truly shift perspectives? Would they see beyond their established narratives? Just then, she spotted a familiar face from the back, the one who had always been the heart of their social circle, but whose judgment she had feared the most. Alex was standing there, an expression that mixed confusion and intrigue. Mia's breath caught. This was the moment. Would she fold, retreating into her self-doubt, Or would she confront the past head-on in a way that changed both of their stories? As she locked eyes with him, a cascade of uncertainty, recollection, and resolve flooded her. Now or never. Mia was not just reclaiming her story. She was ready to ignite a transformation that extended beyond herself. Would Alex respond, or would her fears draw a veil over the connection they might rediscover? The reunion was not simply an end, it was a threshold, and standing on that brink, Mia felt an electric charge within her, ready to leap into the unknown. Mia steadied herself, feeling the weight of Alex's gaze pierce through the spirited conversation around her. Each heartbeat echoed in her ears, drowning out laughter and chatter. Her internal monologue spiraled, grappling with the past and the present, reeling at the crossroads before her. What if he rejected this version of her? The setbacks, the doubts she harbored since high school crept back. Yet she wrestled with the thought, the knowledge that change was only possible if she embraced it, even if that meant standing vulnerable in front of the very person whose approval had once defined her. "Are you ready?" Grace whispered, nudging Mia for reassurance as she stepped closer to the audience formed by their old friends. Mia took a deep breath, feeling the air settle in her lungs. "Ready as I'll ever be," she replied, her voice steadier than she expected. It was a promise she made to herself, to push past the apprehension gnawing at her spirit. "Can we try something different?" Mia said, addressing the small group. They shared puzzled looks, but curiosity danced in their eyes. Not just as spectators, but as participants in this unfolding narrative. "I want to share my journey, but I also want to hear from you. We've all changed, haven't we? Let us make this a conversation, not just a presentation." Her words flowed with uncertainty, yet each one cut deeper into the essence of what she was attempting to create, a dialogue, not bound by the confines of polite small talk, but one reflecting genuine connection. Murmurs of approval rippled through the group as they settled back against the wooden picnic tables, drawing closer, ready to listen. That initial twitch of doubt transformed into an unexpected surge of courage. As Mia recounted her experiences, her battles with self-worth, and the courageous steps she took towards healing, she could see Alex leaning forward, his eyes never leaving hers. Each story unwound layers of her uncertainty, and with every shared laugh or nod of understanding, the tension diffused. "Remember sophomore year? When we were all too afraid to speak up in class?" Mia gestured animatedly. "I remember practically melting into my seat when I had to present." Genuine laughter erupted, and she felt a collective recognition of their shared nervousness. "You were great, Mia," Alex said, finally breaking his silence. His tone, softened by nostalgia, made her heart flutter. It was just a word, but it carried an entire universe in its meaning. This simple validation filled a crack she thought irreparable. Suddenly, she found herself looking at him more openly, scrutinizing the familiar contours of his face, wishing to decode the complexities hidden behind his expression. He hadn't changed much yet. She sensed a depth that indicated growth, too. The thought was thrilling but also terrifying. He, too, had perhaps battled his own insecurities. "Why do we let our fears dictate our choices?" Mia asked, not just to Alex but to everyone. "Why do we stay stuck in our old selves?" She ventured closer to unearthing something deeper, not just for herself but for everyone in this circle. The question lingered, pregnant with unvoiced thoughts and revelations. Mia could almost see the wheels turning in their minds, grappling with the truth that loomed in their history. Then Alex surprised her. "Because it's easier, right? It's comfortable to cling to who we were." His voice, direct yet gentle, echoed her inner dilemmas. "But what if we let go? What if we embrace what we could be?" The unease started to flicker away, replaced by a sense of collective empowerment. Each word was a thread weaving them closer. As the conversation ignited, perspectives shifted and walls fell. Mia understood something vital in that exchange. Vulnerability was the catalyst for true connection. The fabric of her fears, once a barrier, now became a bridge pairing her past experiences with a fearless future. Yet, just as the air thickened with openness, her pulse quickened inexplicably. Would she emerge with the confidence she envisioned, or would the dread of the what-ifs creep back in? With curiosity dancing amongst them, Alex leaned closer. "So what's next for you, Mia?" That question hung in the air, begging for an answer that could define her future. This was no longer just about rekindling old friendships. It was about the potential to carve out new paths, redefine herself not just in their eyes but in her own. As Mia contemplated this very idea, the horizon of self-discovery stretched before her like a vast sea inviting her to dive in. But underneath that exciting surface lay the reality of the decisions she needed to make. Each choice weighted with importance. And as she swam through the rush of possibilities, a shadow of uncertainty loomed. How would her next step shape not just her future, but the future of the connections she had reignited tonight? Mia drew a breath deep enough to anchor herself, fighting the strumming discomfort in her chest. Alex's question had pried open Pandora's box within her, each possibility swirling chaotically in her mind, merging with her dream of becoming the person she'd always wanted to be. Yet, the glimmer of opportunity was marred by the weight of her past self. "So what's next for you, Mia?" echoed in her mind as if searching for a tangible form. The answer was elusive. Was it pursuing the career she had always yearned for? Or was it simply embracing the idea of possibility itself? Each thought wove itself tighter around her consciousness, urging her to find clarity. "I think," she began, the words slow and hesitant. "I want to explore who I am outside of what I know. Maybe take the leap into something new, something challenging." The group leaned in, their expressions shifting from curiosity to empathy, as if they could feel the weight of her revelation. "You mean like a new job?" Grace probed, her brows knitting together slightly. "Not just a job. A new direction in life," Mia clarified, the conviction in her voice sharpening with every word. "I want to push beyond my comfort zone, to take the risks I've always shied away from." The room filled with a palpable sense of anticipation. They were treading new waters together, and something within Mia began to ignite a flicker of recognition that she wasn't alone in this journey of self-discovery. "Remember that art program I used to talk about?" Mia continued, her voice catching their attention anew. "I've always wanted to apply but always found an excuse not to. Maybe now is the time to go for it." Her admission landed heavily. The significance of it settled in, both exhilarating and daunting. Would she be able to follow through on this ambition? "Do it," Alex interjected, his voice strong and steady. "You've got so much potential, Mia. Don't downplay it." His encouragement struck a chord deep within her, syncing with her aspirations and bulldozing through years of built-up self-doubt. Would she emerge victorious, fueled by this newfound affirmation? Or would the possibility of failure sweep it all away? Each moment ticked by as she wrestled with the implications of her next steps. For the first time in a long time, Mia sensed the boundaries of her past dissolving. She could feel the spectrum of her potential unfolding, unfurling like a flag signaling change. There was a flourishing sense of identity waiting to hatch, but what if she faltered? In a bid to regain some semblance of control, Mia framed her thoughts into a more concrete plan. "I want to just apply. I'll throw myself into it, dedicate actual time and energy." The nods of encouragement from her friends grounded her further. Feeling the energies flow between them, she realized they were affirming her agency, stoking the fire already burning within her. Yet, uncertainty peeled back layers of excitement. "But what if I fail? How do I handle that? If I don't measure up?" Her fears whispered from the shadows, claustrophobic and chilling. "Failures are just steps towards growth," Grace assured her. "You learn first, succeed later." Mia felt the tension release just a fraction. Could she simply allow herself to find the strength in failure? Each possibility illuminated the edges of her mind, opening her to deeper reflections on who she was becoming. She made a small vow to herself. The next time she felt those crippling doubts steer her away, she would recognize them not as barriers, but as stepping stones to build resilience. With gathered resolve, Mia glanced at Alex, a newly formed pact glimmering silently between them. She wanted to perceive his role not as a judge of her past, but as a collaborator in her growth moving forward. "So, what comes after the application?" Alex's question broke the momentary silence, reigniting the anticipation in the group. "Perhaps I should explore my art further. A new exhibition is coming up," she formulated aloud, feeling the pieces of her ambition clicking into shape. "I want to showcase my story, not just my art. Each stroke will embody the journey of rediscovering my passions." There it was, a fresh horizon ahead. Each choice she would make rippled into larger dynamics with her friends, and with Alex in particular, a tension that promised evolution. Every success or setback would refine her identity in both art and life. Yet, the shimmering excitement still bore a shadow. If Mia was truly to step into this new realm, she had to confront a deeper truth. The lingering echoes of past relationships and expectations could still hinder her journey. As the conversation danced on and reassurance filled the air, the reality loomed closer. A confrontation with her past, and with Alex, was inevitable. Would she have the courage to embrace both? Would she find the harmony between who she was and whom she was yet to become? This moment of clarity was but the beginning. Mia could feel the urgency rising like an unstoppable wave. The time had come to face not just her fears, but also the connections that would either withstand the test of her growth or falter under its weight. And in that instant, as laughter and encouragement washed over her yet again, she felt the first tug of something deeper, a realization that her next step could change everything, including her relationship with Alex. Mia stood resolutely in front of a room filled with faces once blurred by insecurities. The reunion had morphed into a launchpad for her transformation, a bittersweet blend of vulnerability and strength. Each inquisitive gaze reflected back her journey, allowing her to shatter the chains of the past and walk boldly into the light of possibility. In the days that followed, she took the leap of faith she had long postponed. With a clear vision now crystallizing in her mind, Mia threw herself into exploring her passion for health education and community welfare. Partnering with businesses, she drafted proposals that highlighted the importance of wellness and scholarship programs for aspiring healthcare workers from underserved backgrounds. Her confidence surged with each step she took. Every presentation was not just a test of her ideas, but also of her growth. Mia proved herself time and again. She articulated her vision, absorbed feedback, and integrated suggestions. Her efforts culminated in overwhelming support from community members, who, once skeptics, now voiced their eagerness to collaborate. Each alliance bolstered her ambition, a testament to the positive transformation cultivated through her unwavering determination. Mia realized that as her initiative matured, so too did her leadership qualities. Skills she once doubted emerged. Communication, empathy, and strategic thinking became second nature. The girl who once stood in the shadows now commanded a room, resonating with both authenticity and authority. This was the fulfillment of a dream, not just for her future, but for the entire community that had once doubted her. Recognition came in waves. Local newspapers featured her efforts, lauding her initiatives. Invitations for speaking engagements flowed in, allowing her stories to inspire young minds, straddling an empowering narrative. Throughout the challenges and triumphs, she learned the value of resilience. The residual whispers of doubt became a distant hum, overtaken by the symphony of acknowledgement. The girl from a small town was no longer just a dreamer. She was a recognized leader, making waves within her community. There, amidst the applause and validation, stood Jack Hargrove, returning to her life as a mentor and dear friend. His support had become an anchor throughout her journey toward success. One evening he approached her after a community meeting, eyes shining with purpose. "You've outgrown everyone's expectations, Mia. You've not only achieved what you set out to do, but you've also created a legacy." Mia expanded to meet Jack's gaze, a surge of gratitude washing over her. "I couldn't have done this without your belief in me. You sparked my fire when all I saw were shadows." As the sun dipped below the horizon, Mia felt a profound sense of closure. She had found a way to synthesize her past struggles with her present victories. No longer was she burdened by the judgments of her peers or shackled by their expectations. She had proven not only to them but more importantly to herself, that she was meant to shine. Mia crafted a heartfelt letter inviting her old classmates to a community forum. It was a bold statement, a chance to share her story of transformation openly and invite ongoing dialogue. The goal was not only to evolve her relationship with them, but also to create a narrative of hope within their community, one resilient voice among many. The day of the forum arrived. Mia took the stage before a crowd filled with familiar faces, some nodding with acknowledgement, some still bewildered. She spoke passionately about her journey, the importance of mental and physical health, and the impact that unity could create. Each word cut through the air like a beacon of hope. By the end, she faced Alex, whose eyes were now filled with respect and admiration, instead of the judgment that once clouded their connection. "I never thought this was the path you would take," he said, his voice genuine. Mia smiled back, warmth spreading through her chest. "It's funny how we change, right? I guess sometimes it just takes a leap." Through every challenge faced and every triumph celebrated, she realized that the journey was ongoing, the art of continual growth. That day marked not just an achievement but a launch into a future rich with possibility, both for herself and her community. Mia walked away from the forum feeling an uncompromising sense of self. She was more than just the girl who dreamed of being a doctor. She had become a catalyst for change. She had transformed her uncertainties into strengths and rewritten her narrative. As she stepped into the sunset, Mia was ready for whatever came next. The path ahead brimming with potential, she was not just moving forward. She was soaring, her dreams intertwined with reality, each step resonating with purpose and power. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to share.